The most famous band in history, the Beatles. When it comes to identifying the most famous band in the history of music, one name consistently rises above the rest: the Beatles. Formed in Liverpool, England in 1960, the band consisted of 4 members: John Lennon, Paul McCartney, George Harrison, and Ringo Starr, who would go on to change the face of music, culture, and even history. Why the Beatles stand out. The Beatles' influence goes far beyond record sales and catchy songs. Their fame and legacy are a result of multiple factors working in harmony: innovation, timing, talent, cultural resonance, and an uncanny ability to evolve. Let's break this down. 1. Global fame and popularity. The Beatles are undoubtedly the most famous band ever, and here's why. Their music reached nearly every country on Earth long before the internet. Beatlemania became a global phenomenon in the 1960s, especially after their appearance on The Ed Sullivan Show in 1964, which introduced them to the American audience in an explosive way. They were the first true global pop stars, transcending language, geography, and culture. Even today, people who have never actively listened to their music know who the Beatles are. Their image, mop-top haircuts, matching suits, Abbey Road crosswalk, is embedded in global popular culture. 2. Musical innovation and evolution. The Beatles didn't just make music, they redefined what music could be. From their early rock and roll inspired hits like She Loves You and I Wanna Hold Your Hand, to groundbreaking studio albums like Revolver, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, and Abbey Road, they pushed creative boundaries constantly. They experimented with unconventional instruments like sitars, mellotrons, and orchestras, studio techniques, backward tapes, multi-tracking, and sound manipulation. Lyrics that moved from simple romance to deep philosophical, psychedelic, and political themes. Each album was a leap forward. They never repeated themselves, and fans evolved with them. 3. Cultural and historical impact. The Beatles weren't just musicians, they were cultural icons. In the 1960s, a decade of enormous social change, they became symbols of rebellion, freedom, and creativity. Their influence included fashion. Their evolving styles helped define 60s fashion. Politics and spirituality. Their music often carried subtle political messages. George Harrison helped introduce Indian spirituality to the West. Youth identity. They gave young people a voice and identity during a time of global transformation. Their breakup in 1970 was treated like the end of an era, because it was. 4. Record-breaking legacy. Let's talk numbers. Because the Beatles weren't just critically acclaimed, they were immensely successful commercially. 600+ million records sold worldwide, making them the best-selling band in history. 20 #1 hits on the Billboard Hot 100, still a record. Their album Sgt. Pepper is frequently called the greatest album ever made. They've won 10 Grammy Awards, an Academy Award, and were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame as a group in 1988, with each member later inducted individually. Even decades after disbanding, they continue to sell millions of records and gain new fans in each generation. 5. Timeless relevance. One of the most remarkable things about the Beatles is how their music endures. Young people today still listen to their albums, often discovering them through parents or streaming services. Songs like Let It Be, Yesterday, Hey Jude, and Come Together remain deeply embedded in global consciousness. Their music has been remastered, covered, used in films, documentaries, and taught in university music programs. Their influence can be heard in artists from every genre: rock, pop, indie, hip-hop, and even classical interpretations of their work. Conclusion: a legacy like no other. While countless legendary bands have graced the world stage, the Rolling Stones, Queen, Led Zeppelin, Pink Floyd, Nirvana, U2, and more, none have matched the Beatles in terms of universal fame, influence, and impact. They changed music, they changed culture, and even after all this time, they're still here, not just as a memory, but as a living, breathing part of global musical heritage. The Beatles aren't just the most famous band in history, they are for many the very definition of what a band can be: